and welcome to this week's edition of Engineering and You. In case you are just watching this program for the very first time, Engineering and You is a platform where we try and encourage young Nigerians to go into engineering, science, technology, and mathematics, STEM. And this program is very, very interactive one where we get to talk to you and you get to talk to us by asking our guests questions and answering questions that will be given out to you. Last week, we had a question for the week, and the question was, what instrument is used to measure humidity? And quite unfortunately, no one got it. So the answer is hygrometer. The answer is hygrometer. And this, we want to, before I go to the question for the day, we'd like to say thank you to Prince Engineer Yemisi Shilon, FNSC, for providing the gifts for the question and answer segment, and also we want to appreciate Nigerian Society of Engineers for supporting this program. And if you are just new, you want to connect with us, answer our question, you can go through our Facebook page at Ogtv, and our YouTube at Ogun State Television, and let the interaction continue from there. And for today, our question for today is, photovoltaic cell derives its energy from. Photovoltaic cell derive its energy from. If you have the answer, you can call in and give us the answer, or go to our YouTube page, Ogun State Television, or our Facebook page at Ogun TV, and get and tell us the answers from there. The voltaic cell derives its energy from where? Now, all that being said, I have my guest is in the house, and I'll just take this very short break, and after this break, I will now tell you who my guest is, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy him. Let's take a break. Welcome back. My guest today is Professor Taofik Akinyemi Shittu. Professor Shittu is an academic of repute. He backed his BSc and MSc in Food Science and Technology from the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, and in 1991 and 1998 respectively. Later, he backed another MSc in Agricultural and Environmental Engineering, crop processing and storage from the University of Ibadan in 2006. His PhD is into food processing and storage technology, was obtained from FUNAB in 2007. Professor Taofik Shittu started his academic career as an assistant lecturer in 2000 and was progressively elevated to the position of Professor of Food Science and Technology in 2015. His initial research focused on the study of traditional and indigenous food processing systems, purposely to upgrade them. He also endeavored in food product development and modeling of food properties. And Professor Shittu has provided academic leadership for as many people in the formal and informal training of graduates on food science and technology and other related courses. He is a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Food Security and Technology. He is also an active affiliate of other professional bodies such as the West African Association of Food Security and Technology, International Society of Tropical Root Crop, and is the editor of the Nigerian Food Journal, the professional journal of NIFST. I can go on and on. It's a very, very, very long profile. But let me say welcome to Professor Taofik Shittu. Welcome to Engineering and You.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, what is the difference between, what is food engineering? Because when you talk about engineering, what comes to mind is construction of road, building of this and that. Food engineering, what is it all about?
Well, thank you very much. Food engineering appears to be a discipline sometimes in the mid-50s, and up to date it's becoming more and more popular discipline in science and technology world, especially in engineering. Food engineering is especially meant to give some support to development of technology that will be easily deployable in the handling, processing, and storage of food material as either a raw material or semi-finished product or finished product, so that it can get to the table of the consumers in a very awesome state, and also very acceptable, giving value for money.
Okay, what's the difference between a food scientist and a food engineer?
Well, I can tell you reliably that a food engineer is also a food scientist, because before you can become a food engineer, you have to be very versatile in the science of food. What do I mean by science of food? Trying to understand the nature and the behavior of food material. It can either be raw, semi-processed, or a processed form of food. And you also know that what we call food is generally defined as a substance that is consumable purposely for enjoyment or for nourishment. So anything that is consumed for these two purposes, either for the purpose of nourishing one's body or also enjoyment, we can call it food. So far that its consumption will not jeopardize the health of the consumer. That is supposed to be a safe food. So as a result, food engineering is application of engineering principles in order to ensure this particular goal of presenting food to the populace. So, and you also know that engineering is aspect of science that actually applies physical principles in order to develop a process or design a system, or actually to solve several practical problems in life. So, and food appears to be one of the more foremost problem of human existence. So, and it was actually a good development when this discipline started. Hitherto, food had been handled in less specialized way, but the advent of food engineering has actually caused diversification.
Okay, I want to ask, in practical terms, you know, when we talk about food, what we know, what the layman will know, is that you cook rice, prepare a bar, and all. But what is the engineering in all these things, in practical terms that our viewers can?
I'm really happy the food material that you actually mentioned, because it's our staple. So the engineering thing is actually, you know, when we want to make eba, we first make gari. Okay? Gari is derived from a root called cassava. So cassava needs to be processed. So the steps that we are going to take in order to convert cassava to gari involves a lot of application of engineering principles, starting from the peeling process. In the olden days, when people make gari, they use their hand. Now we have equipment, machines that have been developed to actually take away the drudgery that is involved in peeling manually, which often slows down the process and also reduces the amount of material that can be processed at a time. So machines have now being derived from engineering principles in order to be able to do the peeling. Likewise, another aspect of gari that has been developed is the grating aspect. Grating used to be done with our manual and using a very rough, what we call perforated surface by our women. It wounds a lot and it causes a lot of damage to their skin and so on and so forth. Now we have equipment that can do that in a GV. That can run that particular process maybe 1,000 times the capacity of a human being that is involved in that process. Engineering principle is involved. Then we move away from that, even to the fermentation. You know, normally our people will tie our mash, cassava mash, grated cassava mash in sack and actually allow it to ferment carelessly. Sometimes during this process of careless fermentation, there are a lot of things that ensure that actually jeopardize the health of consumers. So, but if this thing is not accurately done, it's likely to cause some problem for consumers. So now we have fermenters that actually use principles, engineering principles, that actually makes that thing be conducted in a well-controlled manner to the extent that the outcome is very, very good and makes life easier for people. After that, you want to press the water away from the material. So when the water is being pressed, what people do often is to place loads, maybe stones and some other things in order to pressurize the material inside in order to release water to the environment. Now we have what we call presses, mechanical presses. These are products of engineering principle. To the extent of trying to turn the thing into a, what we call, our granules. Yeah. We call it garification. So you'll be surprised what is meant by garification is a coinage, actually. Because in the process of turning that mash into the meal that is called gari, we need to heat up. Heating is engineering principle that has to be properly designed into that system. The same thing is also what we call packaging of the material. Now when you go to supermarkets, instead of placing your gari on the open market, dust enters, smokes, lead, all this, what we call poisonous material, get deposited on it. It's now being designed to package the material very neatly. It makes it easy for taking the gari to any place in the world. Now we have our gari moving around in the world. So we see that these are application of engineering principles.
Now you've just explained to us the process of starting cassava to gari.
Yes.
There's this popular saying in the agricultural sector that one of the challenges we have in this country is the fact that and it's a challenge of food security, and it's the fact that most of the crops, when they are in season, they are not processed and stored well enough that can go all through the year round. Now, what is the role of food engineering in this process to ensure that if we have maize, for example, in season, we can have maize all year round in storage?
That is essentially hinging on preservation. So engineering principles are very useful in
we have a call. Temi Lolua, good evening.
And I'm about to answer the questions concerning photovoltaic cells.
But before you answer our question, you have to ask my guests a question.
Okay. What relevant is food production to do? Especially mass production to
Can you please turn down the volume of your TV set? Hello, Temlolu, can you still hear us? Hello, Temlolu, can you still hear us? All right, we'll call us back, please, and answer our question, and ask your question as it were. You can continue.
Thank you very much. So when we are talking about engineering in food processing, it can help us to do preservation. Preservation, in this case of corn that you are talking about, is to the fact that corn gets matured and comes in a very moisture-laden manner, is wet. So the moisture that we have in the corn actually predisposes it to a lot of deteriorative changes after harvest. So you can actually go ahead and remove the moisture by drying. So drying is a process that actually enjoys a lot from engineering principles, using the principle of psychrometry, that is using air properties in order to make air be able to have sufficient capacity to dry off your material for you. You also control heat. You know, heat is a physical phenomenon. That measures the kind of temperature difference between two bodies. So we apply temperature differential in order to assist also in the removal of water from the material. So at the end of the day, when you dry the maize, you reduce the moisture content to a very low level. You also need to actually go ahead and store in a very safe condition. You also apply engineering principles.
But how much of success have we seen, especially in Nigeria, in this area? Because it's really a huge concern.
I agree with you.
For example, you have crops, you have fruits that are in season, out of season. You want to eat mango, for example, and you discover that it's not in season. You can't have what can be done? What has been done?
Well, so far a lot has been done in the area of preserving agricultural commodities, either as a primarily processed product or secondary product. For example, the mango that you mentioned can be turned into different products in order to make sure that you have it, even though you may not have it in the fresh form that you harvested the material, but you can still relish some of the good things embedded in the material by turning it into juice.
Okay.
You can also turn it into leather, the kind of material that, you peel the mango flesh and dry it off, so that by the time you want to consume it again, it's either consume it just like a snack, or you rehydrate it in order to make it soften and make it easily consumed. That's one way. And when you want to do that, you have to do it very carefully, so that you will not lose all the benefits that are therein. So you apply engineering principles.
I'm just about asking, that's my next question, that
Yes.
okay, is this thinking that processed food are not really nutritious compared to the freshly harvested or freshly produced one?
Well, I don't want to agree with that. Somebody who is not an expert in food processing may want to entirely agree with that. But one thing that is very sure is that when you are processing food, inevitably you lose some quality aspect of product. Okay? So, and that's the reason why you have to control that process to the extent that you minimize the damage the process is going to cause on the food. But if, for example, somebody is processing juice from a fruit, and you discover that by kind of previous knowledge or experience, you have a knowledge that by the time you pass through this particular process, it will have lost so amount of vitamin C. It will have actually lost this quantity of carotenoid, which is the coloring matter in food. What is normally done by processing is to augment and return back. So that's the thing. That's the thing. So I don't want to agree. It's possible for you to replenish it back.
Okay.
We either use the word you want to enrich, or you want to supplement. A lot of terminologies are used depending upon what you do.
Okay, let me. Our time is running very fast. But I want to ask, being a professor,
Yes.
someone that has been in the education system for quite a while,
Yes.
we've discovered nowadays that, and you agree with me, that the rate at which young Nigerians want to go into STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, is not as it used to be. What do you think is the reason for this?
Well, it's a societal thing. One thing I can say without any difficulty is that society is actually not encouraging taking up careers in the area of science and technology, because when you see people in the arts area, I mean people in the music world, in the entertainment world, the creative industry, these are the areas that people take. Even in the creative industry, there are some incentives, so to say, in terms of intellectual property, what we call protection, so to say. But it's in science and technology, or STEM, that you may science, technology, engineering, and field, actually is taken to be a difficult one, because one, the basic block of it is the mathematics. And now the teaching of mathematics in the educational institution is getting dwindled. So that's the reason, that's one of the reasons why, and it's taken to be a difficult aspect. Okay. It's only very talented, few talented people that are able to pick up opportunities in that area.
All right, if you want to study engineering, the secret, understand and know mathematics very well, then you'll be able to study mathematics, study engineering. And we really need more of engineers in our contemporary world nowadays. Now, I would like to say that the question for the day, we don't have anyone that, okay, we have a winner, Collins Nwabweze on Facebook. Collins Nwabweze got our question. Please, Collins, call us as soon as we get off this set and you get your, and the question for the week is, coating of metal plates and electrolysis is called what? Coating of metal plates by electrolysis is called what? So if you know the answer, join us on Facebook at Ogtv after this program, and on YouTube at Ogtv Abeokuta, then we'll get the answers. On this note, I want to draw the curtain on engineering and youth for today. My name is Tunde Olaniro. On behalf of my producer, Bimboy Lori, I want to say thank you very much for watching, and let the conversation continue on Facebook. Do have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.